Hello everyone, my name is Cheng Yuxi, and the content of my presentation today is to alleviate or even solve the suicide problem of Australian Aboriginal people through cultural factors and redesign. It is mainly divided into three parts, namely the rationale of the final design, the design process, and the final prototype. Preliminary investigations and studies have found that the rising number of suicide among indigenous people is caused by many factors. But the most influential factor may be the cultural factors. And negative cultural factors aggravate indigenous people's suspicion of identity and even affect the discrimination and differential treatment of other groups toward indigenous people. Real positive cultural factors may strengthen their connection with their own culture, thereby enhancing their sense of identity, according to Kimberley Aboriginal Law and Cultural Century in 2020. The cultural constructs our society and identities, our strength, self-worth, and resilience. And in times of great sadness, of trauma, the loss, and grief, the cultural heal us. It made me more certain to use cultural factors as an entry point to design and alleviate suicide problems. Through design, the traditional Aboriginal culture is abstracted into different visual symbols and made into a visual art form. Without deliberately discussing suicide, the use of such visual symbols has a subtle positive impact on the indigenous people, and strengthens cultural self-confidence and alleviates suicide problems. On this page, we can see that there are three different factors and the culture we learned from the Aboriginal people's culture, and we use the design ways to abstract some factors and combined with art forms. And in this final study, according to a practice from narrative therapy, which from White in 2004, mentioned in the fifth week of presentation, I learned more about the culture of indigenous community and try to find some traditional culture and cultural and actual products that have special significance and representativeness to their community. And through the understanding of the visual image and meanings of this cultural carries, I abstract some visual elements, combining it with the daily life of indigenous peoples will eventually establish positive visual elements of traditional indigenous culture in their community. Through these traditional visual factors that have a strong connection with the indigenous community, the cultural self-confidence and identity of the indigenous peoples are subtly strengthened, and the root cause of suicide can be alleviated or even solved. On this page, we can see some drawings and on the left integrate in the indigenous cultural factors found in the research to find all the factors that meet the requirements for design. And right side sketch the traditional cultural factors of Australian Aborigines and select and optimize interactively. And the last part, I will introduce the prototype. The first one, I combine the rainbow elements in the most common and famous story of the rainbow snake in the indigenous traditional culture with the common object forms like umbrellas, street lamps, and boats in people's daily lives. Because of this, story usually relates to water or rain. And second one is the traditional music instrument of the Aboriginal people. Uh, Dagriddle was developed by the Aboriginal people of Northern Australia at least 1500 years ago. So I combined the pattern on the musical instrument with the building and furniture of the indigenous community to make the pattern more clear and obvious. And the last one is hunting weapon of past indigenous Aboriginal people, which is also a symbol of Australia. Combine this shape with hunger and raw science make the original ordinary products have national characteristics. may increase the identity of the indigenous people, and the keychain can be carried by the indigenous people. And put these elements in the daily lives of the indigenous people so that they can feel that traditional culture is around at any time. After a long period of impact, it has happened that this approach can alleviate or solve the problem of indigenous suicide. Thank you.